y'all, welcome back to Everything Lauren and welcome back to Therapy Thursdays. This is episode 6, and just to give y'all a disclaimer, y'all, I am not feeling well. I have been sick literally all week. I managed to pull myself out of bed this morning, moisturize my face, brush my teeth, throw a little bit of earring on, and come down here and make a video for y'all. This is episode 6, and before I get started, I want to say welcome to my 2 new subscribers that I got within the past 2 weeks of the new year. Yay for me. Yes, I am excited about 2 new subscribers, and thank you to the comments that were left on my videos. I love comments. I love replying back to comments, so thank you. And just to do a little recap of last week, it was the new year and we talked about life goals. I don't want to call them, New Year's resolutions. I just call mine life goals. As y'all can see, I have been under the weather, so your girl did not really exercise. I did go see my nutritionist last week, and it was not what I thought it was going to be. It was very informative, let me say that. It was informative, She did tell me that if I was looking to do weight, the way that I'm currently eating is not bad. I should probably cut back a little on the carbs, but everything else that I primarily eat is pretty good. And that as long as I was exercising 30 minutes 5 times a week, I would be good. So once I am back in good health, I do plan to do the 30 minutes 5 times a week to see what that gets me. And as I go along, I may go up to 45 minutes to an hour, what I was doing before. But I am going to follow the guideline that she put me on. She did put me on an 18 calorie deficit for the day. But she gave me this list of foods that I could choose off of. And of course, I can eat as many vegetables as I would like in a day. So, that was very interesting to see my nutritionist and just have, just get a little bit more education on portion size and, little things that I can do to, help with my weight loss and, maintaining it. So, yeah. And, I have been practicing positive thinking lately, and that's really been working for me. I have also been practicing just being grateful. I feel a lot of times we as people, we're so consumed with what I can be doing to get more that we don't actually sit and be grateful for the things that we have. And, in this new year, as I was telling you, within the last 2 months of the last year, it's a lot of things that have been coming to realization for me, and gratitude is one of them. I had to say to myself, girl, you didn't even own a house 10 years ago. I don't even think I was thinking about owning a house 10 years ago. Hell, I don't even think I had a car in my name 10 years ago. I probably had a car, it just probably wasn't in my name. 10 years ago, girl, I have come a long ass way, literally. So, I'm just practicing gratefulness, this year, just being grateful for the things that God has allowed me to have, being grateful for the things that He has taken away from me, because I probably needed it in anyway, and being really grateful for the people that I have in my life that, bring me happiness and bring me joy. I'm very grateful for that, because, people can be here today and be gone tomorrow, so, you gotta love on people while they're here. But that is a little recap of episode 5. In episode 6, I did come a little prepared for episode 6, y'all. I wanted to talk about generational curses. And before I start this video, let me take a sip of water. Before I start this video, And y'all, also another disclaimer, it's Thursday. It is currently Thursday. This video is supposed to be up by like 1 o'clock. It will be, but it's Thursday morning. Yeah, I'm recording this today just to let y'all know how dedicated your girl is to this. And I've been sick literally all week. But I got up. It's Thursday. I'm just letting y'all know. But this is another disclaimer. When I talk about these generational curses, for the family members that may or may not watch my videos, please don't take to heart anything that I say. Like, it is not a dig at you. It is not a dig at your family. It is not a dig at anybody. These are just things that I feel like I have done differently, and things that maybe that I want to do differently when it comes to how, you know, I raise my kids and the functionality of my household and my family. So I did say I wanted to talk about breaking generational curses. And, you know, for me, yeah, I don't really like the word generational curses. We're going to change that word. We're just going to say we changing generational curses into new life experiences. That's what I'm going to call them. You know, my new life experiences, and, you know, what I have learned in my new life experiences. And the first thing that I have learned for me in my new life experiences is the fact that I like to put my family first. Period. My family is numero uno. That's it. Like, they are number one. My job is not number one. My friends are not number one. My family is number one in my life. And when I say family and, you know, putting my family first, that means, you know, if an opportunity comes along for a job and it is going to conflict with what I have going on in my house, I'm not going to take it, because it's going to, if it conflicts with me putting my family first. No matter how much of a raise or whatever it is, I'm not going to do it. And that's just for me. You know, because in my mind, I feel like my dad once said to me, you only have kids for 18 years. And you are an adult longer than you are a child. So in my mind, I only have 18 years to spend with my kids before they are out, hopefully going to college and, you know, doing whatever they do to become adults. And I want to be as present and positive as I possibly can. And that's why I say my first, you know, we're changing generational curses into new life experiences, putting my family first. And I want to show my daughters that it is okay to have a career. But I personally, for me, since I am a married woman with kids, because, you know, I feel like in today's society, a lot of people put an emphasis on, you know, you need to be independent. You don't need to be dependent on anybody. And yes, if you are a single woman, you need to be independent. You don't need to be dependent on anybody. But I am not a single woman, and I have kids that I decided to have with my husband. So we depend on each other. And, you know, I am in a position, of course, to put my family first because of the partner that I have chose, and his ability to be able to let me, you know, I can work, but I don't have to work a stressful job where my job is taking up more time than my family. So that's a new life experience for me, for putting my family first, because honestly, I've known my husband for 10 years. And like the first 5 years, because we've been married for 5 years and I've known him for 10. So the first 5 years, you know, we were dating. And, you know, I guess I put my family first, but I was putting our family first, but our dynamics was a lot differently when we were dating and just living together, cohabitating. Then when we first got married, and I felt like I was trying to find myself, which is crazy. When you first get married, that you decide that you want to find yourself. And I didn't really put my family first. Like, I was more concerned about like finding a career. Like, even though I felt like I needed to find a career, however, I didn't know how to balance that. Like, I felt like I had to work and that was it. Like, me working and having a job, and no matter like, how long I had to work, it was, as long as I was getting paid and I was able to buy my kids X, Y, and Z, or take them here, there, and everywhere, sometimes that's what it was. But, now for me, I feel like a new life experience is I have to put my family first for things to function more clearly and smoothly. Another life experience for me, please ignore my dog, y'all. He is asleep. Another life experience for me is like my husband. A new life experience for me is my husband. The Lord has afforded me, or He has, I'm just grateful that I am able to have the husband that I have. Like, the husband that I have gives me the ability to not live a hard life. And when I say hard life is that I'm not stressed about how my bills gonna get paid. I'm not stressed about my husband out here doing things that he has no business doing. I'm not stressed about my husband lying to me about anything. I'm not stressed about your relationship with his daughter's mother. I'm not stressed about, him going upside my head. I could go on and on, but I'm thankful to God, honestly, every single day that I have the husband I have, because he loves me. He loves our kids. He takes care of our family, and he does what he has to do. And it affords me with the ability to put my family first, number one. It affords me with the ability to not feel like I have to hustle to take care of anybody. Like, I don't necessarily feel like financially I have to take care of anybody. Like, of course I pay the bills that I'm supposed to pay, but I don't feel like, I have to do extra or do more because I'm not trusting within my husband to do what he said that he's going to do. So, that's a generational curse that I'm turning into a new life experience, which is just loving my husband and letting him lead my household. And I think, like, a lot of times in the Black community, we see our mothers, even in houses sometimes that are two-parent households, we see our mothers being in charge, and, we forget about that there's a whole man here, and, I want my husband to feel like a man in my household, and, I had to learn how to treat my husband like a man, like he is a human, like he's not a fucking robot. He is a man that has feelings just like I do. He is a man that needs a shoulder to cry on sometimes, just like I do. And, I have to be there for him. And I'm glad that I have a man that's willing to do that with me. So that's a generational curse that I am, turning into a new life experience, just letting the man lead, letting the man be a man, not getting caught up in this social media nonsense, or whatever. Like, you got a husband, but he's still cheating on you. Girl, how do you know what my husband doing? You don't know what my husband doing. But, I am really living in my soft girl era right now, and I'm definitely thankful for it. I'm grateful for it. And I had to embrace it. And that leads me to number 3, which I have for accountability. And this is accountability that goes that ties into number 2 where it goes with my husband and thing. And my accountability is that, we don't get a blueprint. You don't get a blueprint to being a parent. You don't get a blueprint to being a wife. And I definitely did not have a blueprint to being a wife. I kind of mimicked, what I have seen in my family, whether it been, my parents or my aunt and uncles or, older cousins that I have around me. Like, I mimicked how I dealt with my marriage, how I seen them deal with it. Whether it be good, bad, ugly, indifferent, or whatever, fantastic. I mimicked all those things. And the accountability part is just that I had to figure out something else. Like, I had to figure out that, number one, that I attributed to some of the issues that were going on in my relationship with my husband when we first kind of got married. And the main thing is the way that I spoke to him. And that's the accountability part. Like, the main issue that I felt like that I needed to come accountable for was the fact that I spoke to my husband terribly. Like, I belittled him. I did not speak. I expected him to speak life into me, but I was not doing the same thing for him in return. And it took for me, which is number 4, to go to therapy to realize that, I have to find a different way. If I want different results, I can't do the same things that I've seen done in previous relationships that have been around me. I have to figure out a new way. So I did decide to go to therapy. That's also a generational curse that I'm turning into a life experience, because when I was growing up, nobody talks about going to therapy. Nobody really even talks about like feelings and, being emotional. Like, that was not something that I grew up on. Like, crying was a no-no. Within my family, period. It was a sign of weakness. So, as accountability part, like, my friends tend to tell me that I am a non-emotional person and I'm not empathetic. And before I went to therapy, I honestly thought that was a good thing. Like, who wants to be around here crying and hollering about everything? But going to therapy made me realize that, it makes me seem emotionalist. Like, I have emotions. I just may not show it the way that everybody else do. But, how I come off and the things that I say makes it seem like I'm unempathetic and I don't have emotions. So me going to therapy, it was just like, that came from when I was growing up. It was like, no crying. What the hell are you crying for? Like, you shouldn't be crying. Or, just handling like disputes. It was fight or flight, which in my family is you fight. We ain't fighting. We ain't running. We fighting. So, that's how I assumed that I could deal with, relationships with friends. We gonna argue, we gonna fight. And I also thought that was how I dealt with my relationship. We gonna argue or we gonna fight. Like, and I had to realize and be accountable for the mess that I was bringing to my relationship. So that is definitely a generational curse that, like, I want to change into a new life experience, is like showing more emotion. Like, I know my mother's gonna be mad when I say this, but, my mother wasn't a hugger. Like, she wasn't like a very affectionate person. But I had to realize when I got older, her mother was not an affection person, because my grandmother wasn't really like, we don't do hugs. Like, we do it now. Like, we tell each other we love each other a lot. Like, I don't recall hearing that when I was younger. I try to tell my kids damn near every day I love them. honestly, when I first became a parent, I was not very emotional either. Like, this is gonna sound crazy, but this goes back to breaking generational curses and, being accountable for, some of the things that you do. It used to pain me to fucking hug people. That may sound crazy, but it made me feel uncomfortable. That's more of the word that I'm trying to use. It made me feel uncomfortable to be affectionate, even towards my child. Like my oldest daughter, yeah, like my young daughter, she ain't having that. Like, but when my oldest daughter was like really, when she was first born, it was really uncomfortable. But I did have postpartum depression, with both of my kids actually, but I had it really bad with my oldest daughter. But as my kid got older, I showed her affection, but I kind of still did some of the same things where it was like, okay, we're not gonna be crying for nothing. We ain't pussies around here. We tough, and it's just like that's not how. Like, you have to have emotion. You're human. You're gonna cry sometimes. You're gonna get upset. And I want my kids to be able to come and sit and talk to me and tell me their emotions and, tell me that I made them upset. Like, like, hey, like what you said, like really didn't sit well with me. And me as a mother being okay to sit there and have an open and honest conversation. Like, it still may be, well, I meant what I said because you did X, Y, Z. However, I understand where you're coming from. So, that's a generational curse that I'm really trying to turn into new life experiences. Is just being more emotional, being more accountable for the emotions that I put out or the emotions that I don't put out. And, going to therapy. Like, therapy, I feel like in a black community or any community, period, within family is very important. Like, I have done personal therapy. I have not done couples therapy. I don't really think right now in my life in my marriage, I need couples therapy. At one point, I think I did. But I feel like once I went to couples therapy, a lot of things, once I went to therapy for myself, like a lot of things in my marriage, like changed. Like I changed, so then my husband in turn changed. So it changed like the whole dynamics of my marriage because again, I had to hold myself accountable for some of the things that, I was doing and saying and, what I wasn't doing. And, I had to be accountable for those things. So accountability in therapy was 3 and 4. And the last thing that I had was toxic family members. Now, for me personally, I have no issue with cutting a family member off. Like, if you do something that I do not agree with, I have no issue with just being like, you know what, we're done. Like, I have no issue with cutting your ass off and telling you to kick goddamn rocks. I have no issue whatsoever telling you to do that. However, I feel like a lot of the older generations within our family have issues with that. Like, they feel like, regardless of what somebody has done or what is going on, we all need to be there to stick together as family. And I do not feel like that. Like, if somebody and this goes for friends, this can go for like your work environment or whatever. Like, if something is toxic and they are not bringing any type of positivity, they're not bringing anything to the table, then what are you here for? Like, especially if you have done things to or said things to like hurt me or my family, you're cut off. Like, I don't have time, especially at the age that I am now, to be dealing with nonsense. So I don't like, I'm gonna say an example. Like, I come from a very blended family, and I have a stepfather and I have a real father. Like my stepfather, I call him my dad because, you know, he has been in my life for damn near as long as I've been living. And then I have a real father. Now, me and my real father have not always had the best of relationships. And for me, you know, if I feel like somebody has done something to me, I'm just gonna give you a scenario. You know, I gave my disclaimer at the beginning of this video, so you know, you can take it how you take it. When I got married 5 years ago, I do come from a Villian family. My father and my father's family did not show up to my wedding. So of course, I felt some type of way about that. And in me feeling some type of way about that, like I just said, cut everybody off. We're done. You didn't show up to my wedding, we're all done. Everybody is cut the fuck. I did not give a damn. Everybody cut off. I cut everybody off. Now, the issue that came within that is there were certain people in my family that did not agree with me cutting everybody off. And, you know, I had to let people know that you cannot tell me how I deal with certain people when it comes to my life. Like, if somebody made me feel a certain type of way and you have not given me any explanation as to why you did not do X, Y, and Z, then I do not have to give you any explanation as to why I am doing X, Y, and Z. That's just how I felt. And I had to set a couple people in my family straight about, you don't want me telling you how to deal with your relationships with certain people. Do not tell me how to deal with my father and my family. And that's just the way it needs to be. And, you know, me and my father, we're fine now. You know, we have mended, you know, that little situation. I understand his point of view and he understands mine. But at that time, you know, that I don't think that conversation would have been able to be had because I was angry, I was upset, and I was hurt more than likely. On top of everything, you know, I was more hurt than anything. So, you know, and it was like other little things that was going on and that had been told to me by somebody else in my family that were said about me because of previous things that were going on. But you know, if you feel like somebody is toxic, I'm gonna cut you off. Like, and I'm not gonna let anybody in my family tell me that I'm supposed to deal with you because you're my father or you're my aunt or you my grandfather, you my no. Like, you know, you can't fuck me over and then I'm just supposed to show up for you. It doesn't work like that. Not for me. So that's like my generational curses that I'm turning into new life experiences. Whereas, you know, if you do something across me and I do not want to deal with you at that time, I will not deal with you. And, you know, whatever happens between that time and if something happens to you, that's the cross that I have to bear. Because that's on me. But I'm not going to let other people in my family guilt trip me into dealing with people that I just don't want to deal with. And that was pretty much the end of the topics that I wanted to do for generational curses. And again, this is a disclaimer. This was not to talk about anybody in my family in particular. This is just generational things that I feel like that have been going on that, you know, again, like I said earlier, we don't get a blueprint to life, period. Nobody does. Like, no matter how much you try to prepare your kids for life, ain't no experience than life experience itself. So, you know, I didn't have a blueprint to be a parent. I didn't have a blueprint being a mother, you know. I feel like everything else, like being a daughter and everything else comes naturally, but like being a wife is something that you have to learn how to do. Just like you have to learn how to be a parent, you have to put in work to learn how to be like a wife, especially if you want, you know, your marriage to work and you want your kids to be as happy, you know, as they possibly can be. And that was another topic that I really wanted to talk on, generational curses, when it comes to kids. Like, you know, my main goal with my kids is for them to be happy. Period. That's where it stops and ends with me. Like, I always teach my daughters about being humble and being respectful. And, but at the end of the day, your happiness is what is most important to me. Like, I want you to be happy, number one, with who you are inside and out. The good, the bad, and ugly. And I can't tell them to be happy about themselves if I'm not happy about me, and I'm not showing them that I'm happy about me, who I am, and not accepting the good, bad, and ugly about me. And I tell my kids, I accept everything that I have done. I accept everything that I have done to other people. I have accept everything that I've let people do to me. Like, it's an accountability thing. And that's something, like, as a kid, I don't think our parents and our grandparents and things dealt in happiness. I think it dealt in responsibility. I think they dealt in respect. And that's just not how I want to raise my kids. I want to raise my kids to be happy, because you got a lot of time to be responsible. You're not responsible. Like, you got to be responsible for your schoolwork. But honestly, that's the only thing you got to be responsible for when it comes to me. Like, everything else is, you live and you learn. But, like, kids, like, I just want to raise my kids to be happy. I want to raise my kids to love themselves inside and out, and to accept, who they are, and to, be true in who you are. Stand up for yourself, like, because I feel like if you can't stand up to me, then you ain't gonna be able to do that shit on the outside. Like, and that's just, honestly, like, if you can't sit and have a conversation with me, how do I expect for you to be able to have an open and honest conversation with anybody outside of this house? Like, I don't want to be a dictator. I'm not a dictator. I discipline my kids? Yes. Are there rules and regulations in here? Yes. But that's not the end all be all. I just want it to be differently. Like, I want my kids to be happy. Like, we delve in happiness in this house. Like, and when I say happiness, I'm not talking about, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. You can get whatever you want to get. Like, no, there is rules to this. But ultimately, I want my kids to be happy with themselves, with the decisions that they make, with the people that they have around them. I want them to be happy, and I want them to be comfortable. And that's period. And that is going to be it for Mind Therapy Thursdays, episode 6. We are changing generational curses into new life experiences. If you are going through any of this, please comment below and let me know, like, if you agree with any of the things that I'm talking about. What generational curses that you may in your family are trying to change. And yeah, I thank y'all for riding with me. I know I sound a little crazy. My energy probably a little low, but I'm trying to make sure y'all get this. It may be a little late today, because I don't know how long it's going to take to download all this, but nonetheless, you will get your Therapy Thursdays video. And as always, I would like to thank y'all, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.